He's polling right now, right up there. I think he's just a little bit below toenail fungus. I've thought about why they would do this. Real strong drugs is the only possible explanation.
Keir Starmer has become a global punchline. The Prime Minister is having a nightmare of a week. Between a bloodbath in the local elections and his own MPs now sharpening their knives, it seems Starmer's days are finally, actually numbered. But his humiliation has just gone international. Republican Senator John Kennedy took to the Senate floor to absolutely eviscerate Starmer's government. If you think Kemi Badenoch gives Keir Starmer a tough time at PMQs, honestly, just wait until you see this. It's perfect. Let's watch the clip.
Sir Keir will not be around as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom in September or October or January of 2030. He's struggling now. His poll numbers, probably shouldn't say this, but it's true. He's polling right up there with gonorrhea in terms of popularity.
Right, Senator John Kennedy there saying that Keir Starmer is polling up there with gonorrhea, suggesting he's perhaps not quite as popular as gonorrhea. Personally, if you were to ask me, Keir Starmer or gonorrhea, coin toss, 50-50. If I had to take another 3 years of Keir Starmer or the clap, again, I don't know. Let us know in the comments. Would you take Keir Starmer or the clap? We'd love to hear from you. Another point that Senator John Kennedy makes, I'd like to touch on, he says, Keir Starmer's not going to make it to 2030. I think we've all seen what we need to see now. That is definitely not happening. Keir Starmer's going to be out for the next election. And I don't see Labour getting back into government either. Let's look at the next clip.
Even though the UK owns the Chagos Islands, they said, we'll give it to Mauritius and we will pay Mauritius squillions of dollars to lease from Mauritius the military base for 99 years. Now, I've thought about why they would do this. Real strong drugs is the only possible explanation.
We would obviously never say that Keir Starmer has been on drugs while making government policy, or at all, in fact. Senator John Kennedy has fewer qualms about that. Interesting that our allies are happy to take such a massive chunk out of Keir Starmer, though, and so publicly. I think it tells you a lot about where Keir Starmer's standing is at in the world these days. Just to go into a bit more detail on this Chagos deal, as many of you will know, the UK government has given Mauritius the Chagos Islands and is paying them, has not asked for money, is paying them roughly £101 million annually for the privilege of taking our territory. Senator John Kennedy says, he thinks Keir Starmer's on drugs. Obviously, again, we wouldn't say that. But when you hear those details of that deal out loud, paying Mauritius £101 million to take our territory, you can kind of see how he's come to the conclusion. It's certainly fair comment. It's no secret that Washington is utterly baffled by this Chagos deal. Starmer, when questioned on this stuff publicly, has said, look, you guys haven't seen the intelligence I've seen. There's a really big reason for us doing this. All the political parties attacking us are being cynical. Well, I imagine Washington has seen the intel, and yet it doesn't seem like anyone in Washington is happy with the Chagos deal. Trump's very unhappy with the Chagos deal. The Republicans are very unhappy with the Chagos deal. And let's be honest, the CIA, the American intelligence establishment, they will know the intel around the Chagos Island. They are none too pleased with this deal. So whatever Keir Starmer's hiding, I doubt it's anything that he says it is. It'll be interesting to see how Reform react to this when they get into government and what they do reveal to the British public about what's been going on behind this very dodgy Chagos deal. Anyway, that's enough of me. Let's go back to the clip.
The only person on this planet who thinks this is a good idea, besides Prime Minister Starmer, is Xi Jinping of China. Prime Minister Starmer is polling right now. He's in a lot of trouble politically. He's polling right now, right up there. I think he's just a little bit below toenail fungus among the people of the United Kingdom. He's in deep trouble politically. Every prognosticator who studies UK politics says that the next Prime Minister and the next party in leadership will be the Reform Party. And if the Reform Party takes over in the UK, the Reform Party has already announced publicly that the first thing they will do is stop paying money on the lease that Prime Minister Starmer has signed with Mauritius. What happens if the Reform Party does that? Well, I'll tell you what happens. The lease becomes null and void.
I mean, he's right. Reform, the second they get into power, are going to look to rip up that Chagos deal. Now, if there is actually the intelligence Keir Starmer claims there is, maybe they won't. Maybe they'll explain to us why Chagos has been given over to another country and then with a little £101 million a year bung to go along with it. I doubt they're going to, what they're going to do, I think, is they're going to look into what's been going on behind the scenes, how this dodgy deal came about. They're going to find some stuff that is, I think, could be very interesting. And I suspect they will use that as leverage and release that to the public to let us know exactly what Keir Starmer's been up to behind the scenes. I suspect it's none too savoury. We shall see. Time will tell. For now, back to the clip.
They deserve better than the government that they're being given right now. I don't mean any disrespect in saying this, but I'm not a big fan of the Prime Minister, Prime Minister Starmer. Now, once the war started going the way of people who believe in freedom, Prime Minister Starmer changed his mind. Now he says you can use our bases. Thank you very much, it's a little late. We don't need you. He also is trying to give President Trump advice about how to conduct the war. That's a little bit like seeking the advice of a nun about sex.
Some more great imagery there from Senator John Kennedy. He's got a good point. I mean, there's something I'll take issue with him on, but we'll come to that in a sec. He's got a good point about Starmer. Calling up the President of the United States, Donald Trump, immensely successful man by some accounts, certainly very popular with his electorate, or at least a part of it. Calling him up to give him a lecture on how to run his affairs, how to conduct the war with Iran, it speaks to a certain arrogance about Keir Starmer, a certain pig-headedness, a certain just delusion about the man. And also a deeper delusion, I think, and again, to be fair to Starmer, I don't think it's just him. I think it speaks to a deeper delusion in British politics for the last 20 years. We seem to, our leaders anyway, seem to have this impression that we still have the economic power, the might to throw our weight around across the world, to tell other people what to do, including the President of the United States. They act as if we are still a global superpower, despite decades of running down our economy, decades of making us all feel a bit poorer, decades of making this, stripping back the defence of this country, stripping back our armed forces, cutting relentlessly and refusing to fund our great armed forces. And they still act as though we are one of the world's great superpowers, as if nothing had changed since the days of empire and the Second World War and all the rest of it. It's nonsense. And for Starmer to call up Trump, the head of a country that has funded its military, is incredibly powerful, has an enormous economy, and to dare to lecture him, it does speak to a certain arrogance and stubbornness. So John Kennedy's got a point there. I think where I disagree with John Kennedy, he clearly seems to be a fan of this US intervention in Iran. He clearly seems to be a fan of this war with Iran. I don't see that it's been good for anyone, least of all Americans, certainly not Europeans. It's been no good for the West. It's not entirely clear what it is we hope to get from this war. It's not clear at all what we have gained from it. It just seems to be, and it's interesting now that they're getting around the table, at least at the time of recording. I have to disagree with Senator John Kennedy on that. Let us know what you think about the Iran war in the comments. So again, really keen to hear your thoughts on all this stuff. Be interested to know where you stand. We'll go back to the clip.
Sir Keir Starmer is the last person you would want to go to advise you about how to have a military confrontation.
Right, well, that was brutal, wasn't it? He's compared Keir Starmer to gonorrhea, toe fungus, said he's well out of his depth, and all the rest of it, and about as popular as, well, you heard it. Look, what do you think of Senator John Kennedy's comments? Was he right about Starmer? Has he been a bit too harsh? Is Keir Starmer better than gonorrhea? Is he not? Let us know in the comments. Tell us what you think. Don't forget to leave your comments. Don't forget to like, hit subscribe, and don't forget to smash that hype button. It basically helps lift us up the feed, gets more people seeing this content, gets more people seeing not just this show, but the Daily Expresso, some of Zach's great investigations into grooming gangs. It really helps get us out there, get our great content out there and fighting with the mainstream media. Thank you, and bye-bye for now.